Yeah, yesterday we discussed about method overriding, which is nothing but the process of changing the implementation of parental method inside the child class. To achieve that, as I told, we have some three rules. First rule has to be first rule is relationship should be parent and child. Then method signature and method return type has to be same as parent. Then third rule is access modifiers should be same as parent or greater than that. Okay, you have to follow these three rules to achieve method overriding. And I also told method overriding is an example for runtime polymorphism, because based on which object you are calling that method, that decision will take at the runtime. So method overriding is an example for runtime polymorphism. Then we discussed about static keyword. Okay, once you declare a static keyword, it can be shared among all objects. Okay, and the static member belongs to class. Then we discussed about non-static. Non-static is nothing but each object has its own copy. Okay, and this non-static belongs to object. Okay, this is the difference between static and non-static. And we discussed about loading of members, like static members are loaded into static area when the class is loaded, and non-static members are loaded into heap area when the object is created. Okay, when object is created, those non-static members are loaded into heap area, and when class is loaded, static members are loaded into static area. And we discussed about static initializers and non-static initializers. Static initializers, it is a block of code which is executed when class is loaded. Okay, when class is loaded, that block of code will be executed. And non-static initializer also, it is a block of code which is executed when the object is created. Okay, whenever the object is created, that non-static initializer will execute. Okay, then it executes static initializers before main method. Okay, before the main method, static initializers will execute. Okay, then non-static initializers will execute before the constructor calls. Okay, this is what we discussed in the last class, right? Today we'll discuss about static and non-static members, how we will call in the same class, how we can call in the different class, how we can call. Okay, that things we will discuss today. I'll show in the exam, like in the program, like how can we access within the class the static members and non-static members in the different class, how can we access those things. I will explain today, okay, with the code, so that you can easily understand. Here I will create on two data members. One is string static value and another one as int non-static value. Okay, and I will make I will make static value as static keyword. Okay, and another one is non-static keyword. Okay, so I have declared two data members. One is static member, another one is non-static member. Then I will create one static method, another one is one non-static method. Okay, public static void. Say I'm using a static keyword, so it will become a static method. I'm creating a method with the name of static method, that's it. And I'm printing something like static method from modifiers. Just I'm writing something, that's it. For implementation, just I'm using like from with, I'm just printing the full address. Okay, that's it. This is the static method, and I will create another method which is non-static. I'm not using a static keyword, that's it, and I will make it as non-static method. Okay, here I've created two data members. One is static data member, another one is non-static data member. and I have created two methods, which is one is static method and one is non-static method. That's it. Now see, this is the same class, right? In the same class we have static data members and non-static data members and static method and non-static method. Now I will call those static members in the static method. See how we will create, how we will access those members. See, these are this is static data member and this is the static method, right? So those static members I'm directly accessing. Okay, I'm directly accessing in the static method. Okay, without object creation, directly I'm accessing those static data member and static method. Let's see if it works for non-static members also. See, I can't able to access those non-static members directly inside the static method. Okay, this is public static void main, it is static method. I can't able to access those non-static members directly in the static method. And I also check those check that non-static method also I can access or not. Say I can't able to access static members, sorry, I can't able to access non-static members inside the static method directly. So that for that I have to create an object, and using that reference name I have to call those methods. Okay, now I will create an object for program 2, and with that reference name I will call those non-static members. Okay, you have to remember this. So I'm creating an object, a new keyword program 2. Okay, now I created an object for that with that reference name. With that reference name I'm calling that non-static data member, and with that reference name I will call that method. See, this is, you have to remember. Okay, static members in the static method we can call directly, but non-static members in the static method object creation is compulsory, and with that reference name you can call those static members. Okay, this you have to remember. It is in the same class. Now I will create a non-static method. Let's check how we can access those static members and non-static members inside the non-static method. Okay, now I am creating a non-static method. See, this is a non-static method, right? Because I'm not using a static keyword. If you use a static keyword, it is a static method. If you don't use a static method, it becomes a static non-static method. Okay, now let's see, we can access those static members or non-static members directly in the non-static method, or we have to create an object for that or not. Okay, now I'm calling those static members. Static. So you can access static members directly in the non-static method. Okay, now let's see for non-static members we can access or not. So I can able to access non-static members. Okay, now I'll create now I'll access non-static method. Now let's see it will access or not. See, it is accepting. Okay, in the non-static method we can access static members directly, and also we can access non-static members directly. Okay, this you have to remember. The same class. Okay, this is the same class. Static members we can access directly in the static method and also in the non-static method. But non-static members, in the static method we have to create an object with that reference name, we have to call those static members. But in the non-static method we can directly call those static members. Okay, this you have to remember. In the same class, static members can be accessed directly in the static method and also in the non-static method. But non-static members can't be accessed directly in the static method. We have to create an object for that with that reference name. We have to call those static non-static members. But whereas in non-static method we can access directly. Okay, this you have to remember. This is in the same class. Okay, in the next example I will give in the different class how can we access those static members and non-static members in static method and non-static method. Okay, up to here if you guys have understood, I will go to the another example and I will explain that in different class how can we access those static members and non-static members. Up to here, if you have any doubts you can ask me. Guys, do you understand about this? Like how can we call static? Oh sorry guys,
Tidak
I
berhana
just
bahuda.
now we are telling. Okay, now you can able to see the screen. Guys, respond. Now you guys can see the screen, right? Yeah, see here I have created two data members. One is string static value, I'm making that as static data member, and I've created another data member which is int non-static value. That's it. And I've created two methods. One is static method, another one is non-static method. Because I'm using here static keyword, so this method will become static method, and here I'm not using static keyword, so it is become non-static method. Okay, that's it. I've created two data members. One is static data member, another one is non-static data member, and I've created two methods. One is static method and another one is non-static method. Okay, now I've created a main method which is a static method. Now I will call those static members and non-static members. Let's see how can we access those things. Okay, here I'm this is these two lines are static members. Okay, static value is static data member and the static method is static method, right? So those static members can be accessed directly in the static method. Okay, then we can't access those non-static members directly. For that, object creation is compulsory. With that reference name you have to call those static member or non-static method. Okay, this is in the static method, this is static method, right? So static members can be accessed directly, but non-static members, for that we have to create an object with that reference name, we have to call those members. Okay, this is in static method. Now I have created here a non-static method. Okay, because I am not using a static keyword, so it becomes a non-static method. Let's see how can we access those things. Okay, here static members and non-static members we can access directly. No object creation is necessary for both static members and non-static members. Okay, this is what I am explaining, but sorry I didn't share the screen. Now you guys understand, right, how those static members and non-static members can be called in the this is same class. Okay, in the same class how can we call those static members and non-static members. You guys have understood, right? Up to here, if you have any doubt you can ask me, or else I will go to another example. In different class how can we access those static members and non-static members, I will give an example for that. Shall I go to the next concept, next example? Guys, respond. Up to here, if you have any doubts you can ask me. Sai Priya, can you please just turn off the mic? Sai Priya, can you just please turn off the mic? Okay, if you don't have any doubt, I will go to the next concept. So here I have created one class with the name of program 3. It is a different class. Okay, now let's see how can we access those data members and methods in the different class. Let's see how can we access those things. Okay, now I will create a main method here and first access static members. Okay, now those data members and methods which are present in program 2 class, right? So I have to create an object for that. Okay, let's now these data members and methods which are present in program 2, right? So to call those static members we have to use the class name. Okay, with that class name we have to call program2 dot c. If I give program 2, in that program 2 what and all the classes and methods which are present in there, it is showing me. So I'm accessing that data member, and I can also access method with the name of program2 because those data members and methods which are present in that class, right? So if we are accessing those data members in different class, with the class name you have to access those data members and methods. Okay, so this is how we can access static members. These are static members. So with the class name we're accessing static data member, and with the class name we're accessing the static method. Okay, this is about in different class how can we access those static members. Okay, in different class if we want to access those static members, with the class name we have to access those static members. Okay, now let's see for non-static members how can we access. Okay, okay, this is a static method, so static members can be accessed directly, but for non-static method object creation is compulsory. Okay, so we have to create an object for program 2 because those non-static members are present in that class. Okay, so we have to create an object for that. Program equal to new keyword program 2 constructor. Why? Because I am creating program 2 object because those non-static members are present in that class, so I am creating an object for that, and with that reference name I am calling those method and data member. Okay, that reference name I am calling method and data member. Okay, this is how we call static members and non-static members in different class. Okay, this is program 3 is a different class, right? So in the static method static members can be accessed directly, but non-static members in the static method, sorry, program 3 is a different class, right? So in the static method static members are accessed with the class name. Okay, with the class name we have to access those static members, but for non-static members object creation is compulsory. With that reference name we have to call those non-static members. Okay, this is in static method. Now I will create a non-static method. Let's see how can we access those things. Okay, now I will create a non-static method m1. Okay, now this is a non-static method. Let's see how can we access static members and non-static members. First we will see about static members. Static members we can access using the class name directly. Okay, so program2 dot static data member and program2 dot static method. So in the non-static method, in the different class, in stat in the different class, in non-static method, static members can be accessed with the class name directly, but for the non-static members, in the non-static method, object creation is compulsory. Okay, this is how it will work. Okay, this you have to remember. In the same class, how can we call static members and non-static members? In the different class, how can we call the static members and non-static members? You guys have to remember this. Okay, in the OOPS concepts, if I have created like this, you guys have to understand why I have created an object, why I am accessing directly those static members, why I am creating an object. You guys have to remember these things. Okay, see, this is the same class. I will explain clearly. See, this is the same class, right? In the same class, in the static method, static members can be accessed directly, but non-static members can be accessed by object creation. With that reference name, you can call those static members and non-static members and non-static method, which is in static method. But in non-static method, we can access both non-static and static members directly. This is in the same class. Okay, if it is in different class and it is a static method, we can access static members with that class name, because those static members are present in this class, right? So we have to use that class name and we have to access those data static members. But for non-static members, object creation is compulsory, and with that reference name we have to call those methods or static members. But in non-static method, in different class, static members can be accessed with class name, and non-static members, object creation with that reference name we have to call. Okay, these things we have to remember. In the OOPS concepts, it will be easy to understand you. Okay, up to here. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. First we have to remember what is static and non-static, difference between static and non-static. Once we declare a static member, it can be shared among all objects, and it belongs to class. Okay, whereas non-static, each object has its own copy. Okay, and it belongs to object. First you guys have to remember this difference between static and non-static. Okay, then loading of members, how the static members will load and where it will load, and non-static members, how when it is loaded and where it will load. Those points you have to remember. Okay, loading of members. Then after that, what is static initializer, what is non-static initializer, when that block of code will execute. Okay, static initializers will execute when class is loaded. Then non-static initializers, it is also a block of code which is executed when the object is created. These two things you have to remember, what is static initializer and non-static initializer. After that, calling static members and non-static members in same class, in different class, how can we call. Okay, these things you have to remember. First, difference between static and non-static. Then loading of members, how can we load static members and non-static members. Then after that, static initializer or non-static initializer. Then calling static members and non-static members in same class, in different class, how can we call these things you have to remember. Okay, up to you. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Guys, do you guys understand up to here? If you have understood, I will go to the another topic, which is constructor chaining. If we complete this by tomorrow, we can start OOPS concepts. Okay, today I will explain which is one more topic, which is constructor chaining. After that, from starting from class, I was started right from class to constructor chaining. Those fundamentals you guys have to focus on that before starting OOPS concepts. You guys have to remember those things like what is class, object, constructor, then constructor overloading, method, method overloading, method overriding, then modifiers, then these things, static, those things. Okay, those things you have to familiar before starting OOPS concepts. You guys have to thorough with this. Okay, yeah. Up to you. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. I will go to the another concept. If you don't have any doubts, I will go to the another concept, which is constructor chaining. Guys, respond. Okay, once those who are not attending the meeting from today, daily basis, I will upload these recorded classes in the YouTube. You can just refer there. Okay, those who are not attending, they can refer those YouTube videos which I will post day by day. You guys can refer. Okay, shall I go to the next concept? Guys, respond. Up to here. If you have any doubts, you can ask me, or else I will explain once again. It's okay. Ultimately, you should understand, that's it. Guys, respond. Shall I go to the next topic, or else I have to repeat the same thing? Just have to respond, right? Hello, guys. Okay, we have another concept, which is constructor chaining. Okay, constructor chaining is nothing but the process of calling a constructor from another constructor. Calling a constructor from another constructor, we call that process as constructor chaining. Okay, that's it. Just 1 second. Yeah, constructor chaining is nothing but, as I told, uh, calling a constructor from another constructor. Okay, that's it. That's process, we call it as constructor chaining. Okay, the process of calling a constructor from another constructor, that process we call as constructor chaining. Okay, to achieve that constructor chaining, we have two call statements. One is this call statement, another is super call statement. Okay, with that, okay, with the two super statements. Okay, with that two call statements, we can achieve constructor chaining. One is, yeah, one is this call statement, another one is super call statement. With those two call statements we can achieve constructor chaining. Okay, this refers to current object. Okay, then super refers to parent class object. Okay, we use this call statement within the same class within the same class. To call a constructor from another constructor we use this call statement. Okay, when we use super call statements means to call the parent constructor inside the child class. Okay, child class constructor will call the parent class constructor. Okay, then we will use a super call statement. Okay, to use a super call statement relationship has to be parent and child. Okay, as I told, super call statements we use when means like to call the parent constructor inside the child class. Okay, then we use super call statements. To use that call statement relationship has to be parent and child. Okay, these things you have to remember. Okay, constructor chaining is nothing but calling a constructor from another constructor. Okay, that process we call as constructor chaining. To achieve that we have this and super call statements, and this refers to current object and super refers to parent class object. Okay, these things you have to remember. And one note point is, like I told, to achieve constructor chaining we have to use this and super call statements, right? In the constructor we'll use this super and this call statements, but this and super call statements must be the first statement in constructor. Okay, in the constructor either super or this has to be the first statement. Okay, and both can't be used together. Okay, in the constructor we can use either this or super, but can't be used together. We can't use both the call statements in a constructor. Okay, this is the note point you have to remember. Okay, this is about constructor chaining. Okay, I will give an example for both so that you can understand, like when we use that this super call statement and when we are going to use super call statement. Those things you can understand by seeing that example. Okay, see here I have created a class with the name of animal and I am using the main method. Okay, here I will create a constructor. Okay, as I told, constructor chaining is nothing but calling a constructor from another constructor, right? So I will create one constructor, and constructor don't have a return type, and constructor name has to be the same as class name. Okay, here I'm printing like animal constructor is executed. Okay, here I have created a constructor and I'm printing something, that's it. Okay, as I told, we use super call statement when we have to call the parent constructor from the child class constructor, right? So for that relationship has to be parent and child, right? So I will create another class with the name of dog and I will create a relationship between parent and child. So how can we create a relationship between parent and child? By using extends keyword, right? So I'm using extends keyword, that's it. Here I will create a constructor for dog. See,
Sir,
here I have
screen is
created
not visible, sir.
what?
Screen is not visible, sir.
Screen is not visible, but I'm sharing, right? Yeah, I'm sharing. Now you can see.
Yes, sir. Now we can see, sir.
Yeah, see, first I've created one class with the name of animal and I've created one constructor. Okay, how can we create a constructor with that class name? I'm creating a constructor and a constructor don't have return type, right? So I've created a constructor and I'm printing something, that's it. And as I told, super call statements are used when we have to call a parent constructor from the child class constructor, right? So for that I created another class with the name of dog. To make the relationship as parent and child, I'm using extends keyword and I'm passing that animal, so that the relationship is parent and child now. So after that I'm creating another constructor with the name of dog, and I will print something. Here dog dog constructor executed. Okay, now in the constructor I will use super call statements. Okay, this is a syntax of super call statement. Okay, now what will make means, as I told, super call statement, it will call the parent class constructor first. After that the default constructor will work, the default constructor will execute. Okay, the super call statement calls the another constructor. That's it. This is what we call as constructor chaining. Okay, like when we use super statements means to call the parent, this is a parent constructor, right? To call the parent constructor from the child class constructor, we use the super call statement. Okay, now the super call statement calls the parent class constructor. After that this dog constructor will execute. Okay, this calls the parent constructor first, and after that the default constructor will execute. Okay, now I'll create an object for that. After creating an object only, right, the constructor will execute, so I'll create an object for that. See, now the JVM starts from here, and here I am doing an object creation. uh, Simultaneously the constructor will also call, and here I am creating a dog object, right? So first the dog constructor will run. In that I am calling the super method. Super method calls the parent class constructor, so first animal constructor will execute, then after that this default constructor will execute. Okay, this is how the constructor chaining will work. I'm using here super call statement, it will call the parent class constructor. Okay, now if I run this, see, first super call statement is calling the animal constructor, so animal constructor is executed. After that dog constructor is executing. Okay, this is how the constructor chaining will work. Okay, this is one constructor, right? This is one constructor, right? This constructor is calling this constructor. Okay, one constructor is calling another constructor. This process we call it as constructor chaining. Okay, here we are using super call statement so that we can call the parent class constructor from the child class. Okay, this is to use that super call statement, a relationship has to be parent and child. So here I'm making the relationship as parent and child. Okay, this is about constructor chaining. Okay, do you guys understand about this constructor chaining and when we use super call statement? See here, in the constructor I told you, right, note point, this or super call statement must be the first statement in the constructor. Either this or super has to be the first statement. See, it is a constructor, right? In the constructor, super is a first statement, so either this or super has to be the first statement in constructor, and we can't use both. Okay, and we can't use both this and super in the same constructor. See, we can't use both super and this call statement in the same constructor. These note points you have to remember. Okay, if you guys have understood this, I will give an example for this call statement. How can we use this call statement? Okay, do you guys understand up to here, like what is constructor chaining and when we have to use super call statement? You guys have understood up to here. Shall I give an example for this call statement, when we are going to use this call statement? Guys, respond. Guys, shall I give an example for that? Yeah. Now let's see how this call statement will works. Okay, as I told, this call statement is used when we have to call the constructor from another constructor which is in the same class. Okay, in the same class, if we want to call a constructor from another constructor, we use this call statement. Okay, when we use super call statement to call the parent constructor from the child constructor. Okay, from the child constructor, if you want to call the parent constructor, we use a super call statement. Okay, for that relationship has to be parent and child. Okay, let's see how this call statement will work. See here, I have created a class with the name of demo, and I will create a constructor with the using that class name. And as I told, constructor don't have return type, and here I will print something, okay, which is default constructor, and I will create another constructor so that it can call another constructor. Okay, I will create another constructor with the same name, and I will pass one argument which is int x. Okay, here I will print parameterized constructor, and I will print that x here. Okay, and okay, here I have created two constructors. One is default constructor, another one is parameterized constructor. Okay, in the default constructor, I will use this call statement, and I will pass that x here. So I will give some int x is number, right? So I'll give some number, it has 10. Okay, now this call statement will call the another constructor which is this one, this parameterized constructor. First the parameterized constructor will execute, and what are the value you are declaring, it will assign here. After that the default constructor will work. Okay, this is how this call statement will work. Okay, here it is the same class. In the same class, I am calling one constructor from another constructor using this call statement. Okay, now I will, in the main method, I will create an object. After creating an object, the constructor will call, right? So I will create an object for demo d equal to new keyword, then demo. Okay, now I create an object. Okay, along with that object creation, the constructor will calls. I'm creating a demo constructor, right? So first it will go here, and here I'm calling the parameterized constructor, because this call statement will call the another call statement in the same class. So it will call the parameterized constructor, and there the parameterized constructor will execute, and I am assigning some value here, and it will print here. After that the default constructor will execute. Okay, this is how, if I run this, see, first parameterized constructor is executing, and I am passing some value here which is 10, and that x value is printing here. After that the default constructor is executing. Okay, this is how this call statement will work. Okay, in the same class, if you want to call a constructor with another constructor, we use this call statement. Okay, this refers to, you guys have to remember, this refers to current object, super refers to parent class object. Okay, this is about constructor chaining. Okay, the process of changing or sorry, the process of calling a constructor from another constructor. Okay, that process we call it as constructor chaining. To achieve that constructor chaining, we use this and super call statements. This refers to current object, whereas super refers to parent class object. Okay, this is about constructor chaining. And I also told you have to remember two note points. One is in the constructor, either this or super call statement has to be the first statement. Okay, first note point is in a constructor, either this or super call statement has to be the first statement. And the second note point is we can't use both this and super call statements in a single constructor. Okay, these 2 points you have to remember. Okay, this is about constructor chaining. If you have any doubt in constructor chaining, you can ask me. Guys, respond. Up to you. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Guys, do you guys understand what about that constructor chaining? Like what is constructor chaining and when we are going to use super call statement and this call statement and the two note points. In a constructor, we can't use both together, and in a constructor either this or super has to be the first statement. Okay, this is about constructor chaining. Guys, respond if you guys have understood. Yeah, that's it for today. Okay, starting from class up to your constructor chaining, these are the fundamentals, guys. Before starting oops concepts, you guys have to thorough with this. Just practice what is class, object, then what is constructor, what is method, constructor overloading, method overloading, then method overriding, then what are modifiers, then this constructor chaining, and static keyword, difference between static and non-static keywords, then how can we call those static members and non-static members in the same class in different class, and like what is static initializer and non-static initializer. Okay, these things you have to remember. Okay, before starting oops concepts, you guys have to focus on these fundamentals. Okay, if you guys have understood, you guys can leave. This is for today, and tomorrow we will start oops concepts. Okay, yeah, in the group I will share one code. You guys have to explain the flow. Okay, how the code will execute. Okay, tomorrow in the class, first I will ask that, later on I will start the oops concepts. Okay, in the group I will share one program. By seeing that, you just have to tell the output, how the flow will work, how the output will come. Okay, in the group I will share that program. You guys have to tell in the next class. Okay, yeah, that's it for today. You guys can leave.